So moving on to another song, what was it like for you working on Monkey Wrench?
So that was the first one I did. And it was finding, that was the one where I had to find my way around the recording, and sort of like, okay, this is how they've done the drums, or, this is how they've done the guitars, and okay, what do we want to get out of this? It's like, what can I do? And so I'd have to experiment a little bit. It took a little while of like trying things out and thinking, that's not really working. And I knew Dave didn't want to use compression on the drum, so I had to scrap that. I couldn't use that automatically. So I had to find ways of making the drums, particularly the drums, sound as slamming and as exciting as possible without using the default, things that you have in your kit bag that you use. But what was happening was they were recording, it was a very early digital Pro Tools recording. And then because in those days, Pro Tools was really expensive to either buy or rent. So they were dumping everything onto analog multitrack for me to record, to mix off of. So it was recorded digital and mixed analog, which was kind of, different, to say the least, because it was pretty early days of Pro Tools.
How do you mix analog a digital file?
Well, it was recorded onto tape, like as though it was just literally bounced onto tape in real time. So yeah, I mean, it must have been a real schlep for the guys up at Grandmaster doing it. Every time they finish a track and gone, yeah, that's okay, and then put it onto 24 track tapes for me to mix 48 track analog down at Skip Sailor, which is where I mixed the record in Hollywood. What I did was I used different EQs on the drums, which I had on different faders, and would just make them louder and quieter during the song. So when it gets to the chorus and I want the drums to cut through more, I would push up more of the bottom end in the snare drum or a bit more top end in the kick drum to really punch through. Things like that. I was very canny about it to make it work. And with the guitars, it was the same thing. It's like, okay, well, how far can I push it before it starts to sound, ridiculous or unlistenable or whatever? Because I really wanted it to sound as exciting as I possibly could. That was the thing for me. I didn't want them to live back. It's like, I'm sure a lot of mixers would say the same thing. What you never want is for somebody to go, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You want people to go either, what a racket, or well, hopefully they're going to say that, rather than that's terrible. But you want people to have an opinion. So I've always want to make things as exciting as possible, as within my ability, so that you live or die by it. You know what I mean? It's not like people go, yeah, pretty good. That's you don't want that.
That's the worst. That's the Let's Be Friends equivalent of music.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. So it was the first one I did. I wanted to make it as exciting as possible, and it's not difficult. It's an incredibly exciting song from beginning to end. And I think that one we didn't really. In fact, I think they were pretty happy with it. In fact, I remember Dave. The one comment I remember Dave saying at the end of it, and he goes, "It sounds like a record already." I think he was expecting the mixing to be more problematical or more difficult, whatever. So I hope he liked it. I mean, the record came out, they didn't remix it, so I guess they liked it. But that one we didn't really do very much. I mean, again, it's a pretty simple song. It's very exciting. There's the long bit where Dave, goes da 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 da. It sounds like he's not taking a breath, and that was over like 2 tracks, I think, something like that. So there was obviously a bit where he ran out of puff, and then started singing again on a different track to take it over. And again, just to make it as exciting as possible, because that's like a big climax in the song. But yeah, it was a really fun track to start with, and I say it kind of set the benchmark. Really, it's like, okay, if we can get this one to this is sounding as exciting as everything else, has got to meet this now. That's what you kind of want to get. And I think we may have, at the very end of the album, we may have gone back. I don't necessarily think to that one, but we may have gone back to a couple of tracks, which quite often happens. And you go, okay, well, this one didn't quite get the mark because we've subsequently made this sound better. So let's go back, open that mix back up again, get the desk reset, and just make a couple of adjustments. Or, they've listened to it for a couple of weeks and think, you know what, I think the backing vocals are too loud or something like that. So you'd make a couple of little changes at the end. But Monkey Wrench was a boom. There you go.
That's awesome. So that part you were talking about, the climax, where he ends up at one point just like holding that scream note.
Yeah.
This, I guess, is more of a production question, but how do you record that without the mic booming?
Well, just you can put a pad on a microphone. There's like a little it's like it's like a muffler on an exhaust pipe. It'll cut down the racket, and you do the same thing with a microphone, so it stops the pressure, the amount of pressure distorting the microphone. And also you just you would get someone to stand back a little bit from the microphone kind of things and really bellow. And boy, can Dave bellow. It really is incredibly loud and really exciting. He can really nail those screams. So yeah, and again, and then just I think I put some delays and stuff on it to make it really kind of accentuate it, sort of thing. But yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. I guess, did you have to lower the dB on that one to make it not super loud?
I honestly don't remember. I mean, possibly, yeah. I don't remember. I mean, it's one of those things that when you're mixing stuff, each mix is a little bit different, and like I'm mixing a record right now, and you come across certain things and like, oh, that's that too loud. It's a constant state of flux, yeah. All mixes, until you finally go, yeah, it's done. And even on the final listen through, I'm going, stop it, I just got to change that. There'll be one little thing that's still bugging me, sort of thing.
Yeah. So last question about Monkey Wrench. At the very beginning, one of the parts that I like is that like half-second stop, right? Like the guitar's quiet.
Yeah.
And then it goes, was it written like that, or did you guys like in production decide to do that?
I don't know whether that stop was something that Gil came up with or whatever. I don't know. But I do know that when I had to like mute everything on the desk at that point, because I wanted it to be like a dead stop, and I didn't want any overhanging sort of noise or hiss or anything like that. So it was like bam, and as many fingers as I could to mute things, and then let them go again straight away, and then go on, and then the next section, bam, they do the same thing. So yeah, that was kind of fun, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Gil. So what was happening was they would get it done. I would start mixing, and I'd finish at about, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, something like that. And then I'd cruise by to Grandmaster with a DAT tape, which is what we used to do back then, the kind of rough mixes, that overnight mix. And I would give it to Gil and Dave, and they're sweating away doing guitars and stuff, and then they could listen to it, and then in the morning they could come down to the studio and we'd finalize the mix. That's basically how it was going on. And so I then I could go out and go for a drink in Hollywood with some friends while these poor bastards were still working till 3 a.m.
In terms of screaming, I wasn't going to ask you about this song, but it just popped in my head. The actual song, Color and the Shape, he's screaming throughout the whole song. How is that one to mix?
Again, I mean, it's just you just deal with what you've got, kind of thing. So if I push up the faders and go, okay, he is screaming his ass off in this track. Okay, well let's find out how this works. I mean, it's not like you have kind of like, okay, this is a screaming track preset, this is what we do. You know what I mean? It's like you always have to sort of, you deal with what you get. I mean, sometimes you'll be mixing songs and there'll be something completely left field, and you're thinking, okay, well, I don't know what they were thinking, but all right, I've got to make that now work within the context of the song. And that's my job. That's what I'm employed to do, is to make, this disparate bunch of musical instruments and blend it into something that sounds, people can put on a record and go, oh yeah, I love that, rather than what the fuck is that? Like this trombone come popping out at one point. I've got to make it work. And that's, what I get paid to do. And hopefully most of the time I get it right, and so the Foo Fighters mixing was not complicated. I mean, because it was it's just guitar, bass and drums. And I was lucky. It was incredibly exciting songs, really well delivered. I mean, the one interesting thing with Dave is he, and I wasn't expecting this, but again, it wasn't really a problem, is that he double tracks and triple tracks his vocal. In other words, he sings it 2 or 3 times to create one lead vocal. Most people would just sing it once, and it's just a lead vocal. And he does it again 2 or 3 times to get this sound that he prefers on his voice. And he's very good at it. You know, I mean, a lot of people can't do it very well, but it creates this sort of slightly chorusy almost sort of sound. And so that was something that we had to work on all the time. And there was a couple of moments where Gil and Dave would like argue back and forth, and Gil would say, let's just have one vocal on this part, and Dave would be like, oh, I can't do it, you know, kind of thing. It was very funny, you know, and it was all good fun, you know. It wasn't any big drama about it. But I remember that was sort of, so you get a good vocal sound, you're thinking, and I've got another one, you know, and another one, and I had to make sure that everything worked together. So there was this vocal sound that Dave has, and to make it work. Again, not a big drama, but it was an interesting thing to have to go, okay, this is how the Foo Fighters should sound, you know.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was lots of crazy, you know, little things, but you know, that I'm remembering actually as we're speaking. But as I say, it was fun. It was really good fun to do. Interestingly, I never met Brad Cook. I've spoken to him, the guy who recorded it, apart from one time I briefly popped my head in when I handed over a tape to say, here you go, here's a mix to listen to. And I'd like to have hung out with him more, actually, because, you know, he's worked on some great records, and he was there for the recording of the whole thing, you know, so, you know, but unfortunately, because he was still recording it and I was doing the mixing, we never hung out. We never got to see each other, literally, the whole process, which is crazy.
That's nuts. Wow.
Yeah, I know, and it's a real shame, and our paths have never crossed again. Which it would be great to. I'd really. I mean, I think we hooked up on Facebook. I think possibly, but yeah, that'd be great. It'd be a really fun thing to spend an afternoon just chatting about.
Once the quarantine's over, go for a beer.
Yes, exactly.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more because there is a lot more to come. All the videos on my channel are original. I'm the one filming, editing, and conducting all the interviews. So if you guys like what you see and you want to support, the best way to do so is honestly just to subscribe. Thanks for watching.